Welcome back to Community Hotline. I'm Monica Weitzel, and now we're going to be talking about an organization called World Venture. I'm talking with Adrienne Livingston. Thanks for being here, Adrienne.
Thanks for inviting me.
It's nice to have you. You were on here a long time ago
I was.
in a different venture that you were working on, but you've moved on to being Director of Anti-Sex Trafficking Initiative for World Venture.
Yes.
That's a big deal.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, well, and congratulations, but you are right? You are developing this whole program for World Venture.
Yes, it's a new program for World Venture, and so I'm helping to create their strategy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, could you give us a little background on what World Venture is? I mean, you have your hands in so many pots and are doing so many things that's sort of overwhelming. But tell me a little bit, if you can, just an overview.
Yeah, World Venture, we've been around since 1943. Our headquarters is out of Littleton, Colorado. And really it's to help really bring love and hope to the world that's hurting and those that are oppressed. So we have 500 missionaries serving in 63 different countries, including the United States, and we've had, you know, part of us have been humanitarian, we have church planners. For myself, we're just starting kind of this whole new initiative is how do you have people that have more to give in other areas, such as social justice, and how can we help impact those individuals that have been oppressed and without hope.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I'm sure there's a whole bunch of people all the world over in that situation. I know I was looking at your website and you had all these different ministries. Is the social justice one a new one for World Venture? Has that always been one of their ministries?
It is a new one. We actually are looking at media and arts, government, obviously this social justice, looking at, even public health, and where do we help in those areas, because we all have a role to play in a lot of these different areas, and just how can we help those that have been uniquely created with their experiences, their upbringing, their background, and just their strengths, and how they can participate in reaching the world.
So it's a faith-based organization. Are you always looking for more people to volunteer, and do they have to be of a particular faith? Can anybody volunteer that has an interest in helping?
We're looking for volunteers. We're looking for individuals that even want to come on board as far as being missionaries. It is a Christian mission organization, and professing the name of Christ, and looking for individuals even that are interested in doing internships, especially for students that are graduating from seminaries or Bible colleges. Whether it's an internship, we have what's called Journey Corps, which is very much similar to Peace Corps, but going into missions fields.
I imagine that those internships are very eye-opening for some people.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Did you do that kind of thing, or did you go on missions?
You know, my background, I went to Oregon State University. I majored in business and international business and marketing, and I ended up just traveling, doing study abroad. So that in and of itself opened up my eyes.
I'm sure.
Right, and then afterwards I did do some short-term teams. I did go with Village Baptist Church, which is my current church right now. It wasn't at the time, but in 2006 we went to Beirut, Lebanon. Oh, wow. And if you remember 2006, that's when the war broke out. And in fact, we got back 2.5 days prior to the war breaking out, and I told you, being over there during that time, no one could really tell, even the Lebanese, that anything was going on.
Really?
I've been to Oaxaca, Mexico, not Oaxaca, that was a study abroad. So I went to Tijuana, Mexico on a short-term mission trip, as well as India on a short-term missions trip. So they are all, and then they're all very wide open, and you know, just opens your eyes to what's going on in the world, and the hurting and the poverty that's going on. So yeah.
A lot of pain in the world.
A lot of pain.
The sex trafficking.
Yes.
I've talked to a lot of people and have found out that the I-5 corridor through Portland is really a hot spot, which is very upsetting. And I know there's a lot of people trying to work on it, but Portland it's like this much of the world. And it's a problem all over, isn't it?
It's a global epidemic, is what I like to say. It's everywhere where you have highway, you have, especially Portland and other places that have international airports, you have hotels, you have facilitators. So facilitators, those are different entities that allow it to happen, like hotels and
like
motels. Enablers,
yeah.
et cetera, you know, taxi drivers, anywhere that allows this type of business to go on. And so when you have that, you have freeways. In Portland, we have a lot of strip clubs, and not including even the massage parlors and all of that. But Portland actually has more strip clubs per capita than any place, including Las Vegas.
I have heard that.
So, and it's one that helps to facilitate it. Yeah.
So if someone were, say, a taxi driver, and they got a fare that looked like it could be somebody who was a victim of sex trafficking, or they were with somebody that they got a bad feeling about it. Are they legally bound to report that, or just morally bound to report that?
I wish they were legally bound to report that, but they're not mandatory reporters.
Yeah, that's what I was
I,
wondering.
being a girl strength instructor, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that, I'm a mandatory reporter, but they're not. It would be nice if they were moral and reported it that sense. But, you know, for example, you bring up taxis in that sense, as well as even hotels. Rotary, East Portland Rotary, we're trying to help, you know, educate hotels on, if you see something, this is what you do, or how can you help prevent it. I think the taxi companies, they could do the same, where they're getting educated about, if you see it, what do you do, but then also, how do you prevent it from happening in your establishment, and, you know, with the driving back and forth, et cetera. So
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so because we only have a short amount of time, what is the biggest, most important thing that you would like to convey today that you think is important that the public know, that they might not know about?
Right. It's a huge problem, but I also think that at this point in time, it seems to be a groundswell of many people that are doing the work. I just kind of wanted to list what even Multnomah County is doing.
That would be great.
There's the Commercial Sexual Exploitation of Children committee that is led by Diane McKill, Commissioner Diane McKill.
Yeah, she's from out in this area.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so who's on that work group? I'm just going to read the list.
Go for it.
We have Multnomah County Commissioner McKill. We have the Department of Community Justice with Multnomah County, the District Attorney's Office, the Sheriff's Office, the Department of Human County Services, the City of Portland Police Bureau, State of Oregon Department of Human Services, as well as the Department of Justice. We have the United States Attorney's General Office, the District of Oregon. We have the FBI, Janus Youth Program, Sexual Assault Resource Center, LifeWorks Northwest, and the NOW program, Youth Villages, CARES Northwest, Youth Rights and Justice, Morrison Child and Family Services. We have East Portland Rotary. We have the EPIC Project, Shared Hope International, Salvation Army, Door to Grace, and the Giving Connection. I want to read this list, and I didn't even include World Venture, but I'm one of the co-chairs of one of their work groups, which is the Victim Services Implementation Team. And I read this because it is such a huge issue. Anytime I've talked to people about it, it is overwhelming. It's like, what can we do? Oh, I'm depressed. There are people that are working on it, and we're looking for more people to help us in this fight. It is organized crime, and we need to be organized to combat it as well.
That makes sense. So if people are interested, they can go to worldventure.com.
Well, I would say not necessarily World Venture.
Go to one of the Salvation Army or Janus Youth Services or Morrison, one of those, and
so what my position is, to tell you a little bit more about that, is not that we're creating any new service, but what I saw and what World Venture saw is that there are many organizations, such that I just read, out there doing wonderful, amazing work. And when a person finds out about this issue, it's like, how do I connect? How do I engage? And when I was trying to engage prior to actually coming over to World Venture, I couldn't figure out how. Or it was to volunteer at an event, which is great, or to give money, which is completely needed, but I wanted to do more. And so I saw a gap of how do you help people connect. And I do understand from an organizational standpoint, the capacity to help connect volunteers, it's quite difficult at times. So for me, it was, how can I just help people get engaged? How can I help them
navigate that
exactly,
system
it's like a connector collaborator. So with World Venture, they said, great, we want to help connect our churches to this issue. So it's one, becoming aware of the issue, but then how do we help really to connect them and to prepare them? The fact is, these individuals that are coming, whether they're victims currently or even survivors, they have had a history of trauma, and therefore we need to know how to engage with them.
I'm sure there's certain things you need to know before you're dealing with somebody who's been a victim of that kind of abuse. Exactly.
In fact, one organization that's doing something also, Abolition Now, which is through Compassion Connect. They too are, their desire is to help connect churches, and currently they will be doing, it's a mentor training on August 15th at Warner Pacific. So anyone that wants to learn to work with survivors or victims of commercial exploitation, they're doing a training there that day from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So if a person is interested, they can definitely go to their website, compassionconnect.org or abolitionnow.org, to find out more.
I can see why there would be a huge need for your job, because I know of different organizations here and there that are working in these areas, but there isn't really one umbrella organization,
No,
and
no.
to be able to, find your way through that.
Yes.
And
so anyone
where
can
you
definitely email me, and I can send them the information that I have, and I
Okay.
think my information is probably up on the screen at some point.
Yeah, and if they missed it, they can call
Yes.
us here at MetroEast, and we'll,
So I
we'll put
can
them in touch
definitely
with you. So you had, you said this is a global issue. It's not just here.
Yes.
And you brought some pictures, I think.
Yes.
And so maybe we can bring those up on the screen. You can tell us what we're looking at.
Okay.
Because yeah, you have it. It's not just here.
It is not. In fact, it's 1.2 to 1.8 million kids that are commercially sex trafficked each year globally.
Oh, wow.
And the statistics are staggering, but it's also, because this issue is hard to capture actually all the statistics. So somewhere you might see 1.2, other places you might see 1.8 million kids, again, globally. And so this picture right here is in Beirut, Lebanon. It is a Syrian refugee camp. And the reason I brought this along is because the intersection between refugees and trafficking of any kind is huge, because this population is very vulnerable. Just imagine you have been uprooted from your home.
Sure.
You didn't want to leave. You've been uprooted from your family, your culture, your traditions, just your everyday way of living, to a place where you don't speak the language, you don't know, you don't have necessarily security. How are you going to make a living? And so you have predators that come in to give promises, the promises
They
of
know
a better
just what
living.
to say, don't they?
Same with the girls.
Yeah.
I'm going to promise you marriage. I'm going to promise you love. The same with the refugees. It's just
They
the
know
promise
exactly
of
what's
something.
missing from
Yes,
those lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is Girl Strength. And what Girl Strength is through the City of Portland Police Bureau. In fact, I'm a Girl Strength instructor. We teach girls ages 10 to 17 verbal assertiveness and physical self-defense. It's a violence prevention program. The violence that has been happening against women, we want to help to prevent that.
That's
more
great.
and more.
I encourage
Yeah, and
all
it's a
girls
free
to go through that.
program. It's a free program. It's a free
Even
program.
better.
Yeah, and actually there's women's strength. So if women want to take it as well, it's 9-hour total. It's 3 hours a session for 3 weeks, once a week, and you learn physical self-defense.
Nice.
Again,
Check
free.
that out.
Yes.
Okay.
And so this is Genobi Jules, also in Beirut, Lebanon. And this is an organization that works with women that have been marginalized or oppressed that could fall into, whether it's sex trafficking or something else. They're at risk. And they make handmade jewelry to sell to supplement income for their families. Because a lot of times what you'll see, especially in other countries, it can just be the economy that traffics or exploits the person, because they don't have anything. Exactly.
Yeah. How sad that would be an option, and sometimes,
Exactly.
sometimes the only option. I think
That's
they
what
feel
they
like
believe.
they have. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, wow, it's a big deal.
It is.
What are your plans going forward, as far as what are your goals for because I'm sure they have to be massive. I mean, this is a huge job.
Yes. So currently I'm putting together a strategic plan for World Ventures to how do we get engaged, and I'm looking at our structure. So we have a department that works with universities. So then how do we work together for those students that want to do missions and want to look at justice as an option? We also have our transformational ventures, which is business as missions. And for those individuals that want to do business and do that in a mission component, well, when you look at trafficking, exactly, that's a business. Exactly. Okay. So how do we connect them to that? Looking at, we have, again, I mentioned our Journey Corps program and our internship program. How do we connect to that? Also just the different organizations that are here, whether in Portland, and I will be looking globally, how do we partner with them? So I'm also on a committee that's called it's the Refugee Highway Project, which really focuses on refugees and looking at that intersection of refugees and sex trafficking, and how do we work together, network one another, and resource one another. So looking at all of that, and then also giving a voice, like you being here, giving a voice to many in the community to just really share what they're doing. I'm going to be doing a podcast and listening to stories, the people that have either been in the life or someone who is fighting it. How do we get more of those voices out there, and definitely connecting with churches.
We're just about out of time. Tell me real quick, what's the best thing to tell your children and grandchildren that you worry about? To
be aware. I believe, when you look at girls, confidence, the traffickers, predators really look at who has a lack of confidence and the vulnerabilities. But, I would say just love, but to be aware is the biggest thing for both parents and kids. It's not to make anyone fearful or afraid, but just the aspect of understanding what's going on, because our society, our culture is basically showing our young women and men, you know, this over-sexualization and the violence against women is prevalent. We need to fight that and stop that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Adrienne.
Thank you.
You bet. And this is obviously a huge problem, but do check it out, find out more, educate yourself, and do help your kids and your grandkids. Help them to be strong. Girl strength and women's strength, right? And,
there's boy strength.
And boy strength too. So do check it out, and don't go away. We'll be right back with more on Community Hotline.